And
say that trade again.
Lyles, Mitchell, Duarte for Finney Smith and Royce O'Neal. And then the Kings will probably have to kick in a couple of second-round picks.
Let's bring in Damian Barling for the handoff. D'Lo and KC coming up here at noon on ESPN 1320. Does that make the Kings better, that deal that James just laid out?
Yeah, sure. I think that earth-shattering deal, I don't think that's out there.
It's not.
I feel like the only deal where you can look like, all right, maybe this team took a little bit of step forward is the Kyle Kuzma deal. Unless there's something we don't know, unless there's a person, a player, a conversation that we're all completely unaware of. And the one thing about the Kyle Kuzma potential deal is I don't think you could possibly get worse with that deal. So I think the only thing you could do is either maintain or get better. But anything that bolsters that second unit a little bit, because right now it's great that Trey Lyles is playing well. It's great that Malik is back, but it really feels like it kind of starts and ends with those guys, and that's tough. That's tough. It's working right now, which is great, particularly because you have two starters who are both playing really, really well again. But as you move deeper into the season and hopefully you get into the postseason, you're going to need your guys on the second unit to contribute in the little time that they're going to play.
Yeah. I like that you went maintain and improve, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah. I it's difficult. Like it's difficult to manage the team's playing well right now, right? What 6 of 7.
Yep.
They're 5-1 on the road trip. And it's like, okay, but it wasn't that long ago they lost 4 in a row when we weren't really sure what was going on. You had the Phoenix game in there. You had the, just a poor effort against the shorthanded Indiana team. And then, of course, you had the Dame Lillard game. So it was difficult to measure what you're seeing. And now that you're able to get a little further away from those games, it's like, hey, maybe they're playing pretty good. Maybe we overreacted a little bit. And maybe if we set our sights on the fact that the top 4 teams in the West are really, really good, and they're probably going to fight it out amongst each other, if you can just solidify yourself in that second tier with Phoenix and then perhaps like New Orleans or whoever's lingering around New Orleans, that's probably the best route for the Sacramento Kings. And right now they're in the prime position of that 5th spot, though it's going to be difficult to stay there, with the red hot Cleveland Cavaliers tonight.
Man, I'm intrigued. So you're okay being in that second tier. You don't want to, you would not, if you're Monty McNair, you wouldn't try to push to get into the top tier.
No. Like if it's there, sure.
Yeah.
Like if there's a move you can make to do that, yeah, absolutely. Again, I just don't know what that is.
I don't either. That's my big hang up with this. Is if we're taking, and we did this earlier, we just went through the roster and okay, who's on the table, who's not, who are you willing to deal, who are you not, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're taking Fox, Sabonis, and Murray completely off the table, then I don't think a move of that nature that has a seismic move like adding Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah.
It's like that took trading Tyrese Halliburton. That's a big deal.
Yeah, but and you're right. You're 100% right. And the first thing you said with De'Aaron, Domas, and Keegan, yeah, they're all off the table.
Right.
So not every trade you make is a seismic trade. Not every trade you make can be the Tyrese Domas trade, right? You found your pillars now, right? And you are in a great position because there's a lot of teams in the league where their top 3 players, and this was the downfall that James laid out weeks ago about any idea of Zach LaVine. You acquire Zach LaVine, you're done.
Yep.
That's your team.
Yep.
That's the end of it. And with Keegan, that's not the case because Keegan is on a rookie scale contract. So you have the third guy on your team and he's on a rookie scale contract. You got other guys who have third guys on their team that are making, $200 million, $180 million, different things like that. That's their team. This Sacramento squad can continue to evolve. It can continue to get better. And if you could just find pieces to complement those guys, that's what you need to do right now. And I think Kyle Kuzma is a complementary piece. He's just probably the highest level of complementary piece that you could potentially acquire.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I'm going to put Kyle Kuzma, Jeremy Grant sort of in the same bucket, right?
Yeah.
Except for what Kyle Kuzma's contract does versus what Jeremy Grant's contract does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it doesn't work with Kyle Kuzma, you can bail. you can get out from underneath that contract with no problem at all.
Mhm.
I mean, 25.5, 23.5, 21.5, and 19.5.
Mhm.
The Jeremy Grant deal, on the other hand, as it starts to
Escalates.
escalate, that gets a little sketchy for me.
Mhm.
And so I think you're right. Like Kyle Kuzma is the target, and whether they want to trade him or not, that's a whole other situation. But I think that he's a guy that just instantly does make you better. He just gives you more, especially if you can keep most of the other pieces in place, which can get a little dicey and which will cost you more draft capital. But I would be willing to trade a little bit more draft capital and to keep the main core together,
Yeah.
even if you want to include Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter in that.
Just I wouldn't be worried about draft capital at all.
Yeah. Me
I
either.
don't care anymore.
Me either.
I get you.
It is if you're, I think they are on a track, even with just forget Keegan's ascension. If you have Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, 2 borderline all-stars. No, too soon? Okay, fine.
No.
2 legitimate, thank you. Hey, here we are. 2 legitimate all-star caliber players, right? You're gonna be good regardless of what's, and I think Monty McNair's a good enough GM that they're not gonna stink anytime soon.
Well, that's the whole
And
idea.
If your goal is titles, then dude, get rid of whatever draft capital you need to get rid of.
If you believe in Keegan Murray, and it feels like this entire fan base does,
yeah.
If you believe in Keegan Murray, what they do, what the Kings do over the course of the next 4 days doesn't really matter.
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't. Like we're all guilty of it, and Mike Brown is guilty of it, using terms like contender. And I understand those are terms you use when James Ham's not around and when Jason Anderson's not around. Those are things you could say to your team. When you start saying them publicly, you start talking about it. And that was one of the first things that made me, where are we wrong about this? Is this Sasha kid? What is Sasha?
Yeah.
We're talking contenders, and it's clear, maybe a little misstep by everybody involved. But this is still a really good basketball team that's still growing and still evolving. And Keegan's growth is a big part of it, and Malik Monk's future is a big part of it.
All right. That's Damian Barling. D'Lo and Kenny. No KC this week. It's D'Lo and Kenny.
No KC today at all.
What?
No, KC's out. It's just me.
Oh.
He's preparing. He's preparing for the week.
He's getting dialed. He's grinding. So he's in the lab.
He's getting dialed.
I love that for him. Well, hey, if you need anything, let me know.
I appreciate
we're around.
it.
We're around. D'Lo coming up next on ESPN 1320.